we are now starting to get into a very favorable tenants market, and landlords may be starting to see hints of trouble as we're seeing record number of condos being completed and rents trending down year over year. I'm looking at this newest rentals.ca Q3 report for 2024. And if you take a look at the average rents year over year, major cities in BC like Vancouver, Burnaby, and of course in Ontario, you've got Toronto and even Oakville in almost near double digits. Oakville is at 14.4%, but if you look at Toronto at 9.7% year over year average rents being down. The rental market is starting to look a little bit more rougher for landlords than it is for tenants. Now, here's where the stats get a little bit tricky to look at, because if you look at the TREB condominium rental stats that came out also this month, you can see that in Q3 of 2023, exactly a year ago, there were 14,355 total apartment rentals in Q3 of 2023. And in Q3 of 2024, we've had 18,540. Average one-bedroom rents went down 5% year over year. So how does that make sense? We had more apartments rented this last quarter from last year. However, rents went down. Well, the number that we really need to look at is the overall total listings that have actually come out Q3 of 2024. So let's take a bit of a deeper dive into the rental numbers here. So if we look at the grand total of listings that were on the market last year in Q3 of 2022, there were 21,206 listings that were listed, and the same period this year of Q3 of 2024, there were 31,000. So 10,000 more listings, rental listings on the market. And when you look at the number of leased listings compared to last year, even though we're at 18,000, we're looking at 59% absorption rate from listing to leased ratio, as opposed to Q3 of 2023 where we were at 67%. So even though there's more leased this year, there were a lot more listings and the absorption rate was lower this quarter than the last quarter. Average bachelor or studio in the city and the Greater Toronto area went down 8.8% year over year. What used to be over $2,200 went down to $2,051. One bedrooms went down 5%. Two bedrooms went down 5.6%, and three bedrooms coming up with a whopping 9% year-over-year decline. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly why rents are coming down and are going to continue to trend downwards. And I'll talk about the four main reasons that's happening, and whether you're a tenant or a landlord, what you can be doing to capitalize on this market. By the way, if you're new to this channel, my name is Sid Sir. I'm a real estate agent here in the Greater Toronto area. I help clients with buying, selling, leasing, investing, and all aspects of pre-construction condos. If you're new here, please subscribe for all things real estate, as well as a booking link to my calendar is in the description. So if at any time you want to book a call with me one-on-one to see whether buying, selling, leasing, or investing is the right time for you, I'm happy to do that with you one-on-one. Okay, so let's get down to the reasons why rents are trending downwards. So the biggest reason, as we just saw with the numbers, is there were a lot more listings coming into the market, right? And the big reason for that is there were a record number of condo completions that happened in 2024. Now, according to Urbanation, condo rents experienced downward pressure due to record high number of new condo deliveries. The number of condos that were registered, which means they were completed and reached final closing, so far this year has totaled 23,473, which is a 132% increase over the same period last year. Last year, we had 10,098 units completed. And that's a 67% increase over the 10-year average for the same period. So clearly a lot more condos completed. When they're coming up for occupancy and completion, majority of these pre-construction properties happen to be investor clients who were looking to rent out these units. And so we have a massive supply of rental, and we have massive supply and not nearly as much demand. You're going to see prices pressure downwards. Now, traditionally, a lot of investors purchase pre-construction condos not just with the intention to rent it out, but also with the intention to sell. And because we've also had extremely high interest rates over the last year and a half to 2 years, a lot of investor clients have been unable to sell these condos because the pre-construction prices and the resale market just haven't caught up there's a huge gap still between the resale inventory and pre-construction inventory. And because of that, a lot of investors have been forced to close on their units, which brought more supply into the market for rentals. And on the resale side, a lot of investors had put up their condos on the market and were also unable to sell because there's just a lot of excess condo supply on the resale side on the market as well, which also resulted in more rental inventory when investors then instead opted to rent when they couldn't sell their condos. Now, reason number two is that people are just not willing to move from one rental to another rental right now because of the high rents. If we go back in time 3 years, I'm talking about 2021. From 2021 to 2022, we've had record high increases in rents. If you guys remember, in 2022, across all the quarters, Q1 to Q4, we had record high year-over-year rent increases as high as 25% for some, I believe it was one bedrooms that went up 25%. And the average rent hike across the board was 17% for all unit types. That, along with the fact that most people at the time, because of the sky-high prices of properties at the time, because interest rates were so low and there was so much demand, a lot of these tenants who wanted to buy properties could not, so they decided to stay in their properties and continue to rent. And people who had been renting pre-2022 are likely still paying quite low rents, and it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to move to another rental because their rents in many cases would jump as high as $400 to $500 a month. And in many cases, a lot of these tenants who are looking to make a move may now be thinking about potentially purchasing a property instead, which brings me to reason number three, which is as rates are coming down, a lot of these tenants that are in the market to buy may now be starting to look to actually purchase a property. As rates are coming down and rents continue to stay high, a lot of potential buyers who were on the sidelines continuing to rent for the last 2 to 3 years are now slowly starting to move away from the sideline and towards home purchases. This is further shrinking that demand of tenants. And the fourth and final reason why we're seeing rents decline year over year is because Canada has recently started to put a reduction on the number of international students and immigrants that are coming into the country, which is further reducing the demand. So when you have all these four factors playing together, you have this perfect storm where we have excess supply and low demand, and this is what's causing a lot of the rents to go down. Now, if you're a tenant, this is the perfect opportunity for you to actually find something that is suitable. You have a ton of options, and I remember there was a time when tenants, especially in 2022 and the better part of 2023, were paying as much as 6 months to a year upfront rent because the rental market was so tight. Well, now not only do tenants have options, but you also have now a lot of leverage to pick and choose the type of unit that you want. And if you're a landlord, now is the time to make sure that you are actually pricing your rental property correctly. Make sure that you're showing your property well and you're actually getting the property that exposure that it needs to make sure it goes out to the masses. Make sure you take the right pictures. Make sure, if you can, make it presentable as much as possible. And if it's a tenanted unit, just have a good relationship with your tenant so that they're being cooperative with the showings, all while you continue to do your due diligence to make sure that you get the right tenant for your property. Now, as for where we're headed in 2025, I believe in 2025, we're also going to see a record number of completions come into the market, which is going to continue to flatten out the rental market, and we'll likely see further decline, slow and steady decline in prices and an increase in inventory. And on the flip side, because we're having such low sales in the new construction and new condo market, and we're not building nearly as enough or starting construction because of the lack of sales, we're going to start seeing a shortage in supply in the next 3 to 4 years. At which point, I believe the rental market will start to pick up steam again and prices will start trending upwards once again. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please go ahead and give it a like and let me know in the comments what you think the rental market is going to behave like in 2025. Thanks for watching. Take care.